Hi there, my name is Denise Stranko and I'm the Executive Vice President of Programs at Save the Sound. I have over 20 years of working on environmental policy issues and I was really excited to join the team last fall. Save the Sound leads environmental action in your region. We fight climate change, save endangered lands, protect the Sound and its rivers, and work with nature to restore ecosystems. Here are just a few of our staff to tell you more about the legislation we championed in 2023.
So in Connecticut, we had some bills get through. We had some that didn't quite make it. One that went through was a resiliency funding grant. The bottom line is it's going to be really expensive to deal with sea level rise, the increasing storm surge, and where we're going to be in 100 years. We need to be working on this stuff now. This will allow the municipalities, if they raise extra funds, to work with the state to bypass any restrictions on investment, to go be able to more aggressively start creating these funds to help support resiliency projects in their towns and use that money for match. It's a bill that's good building block and just another tool to help us prepare for the future that the climate's going to serve us up.
One of the big disappointments this session was the failure of DEEP's signature climate bill, SB 1145. That bill really incorporated a number of important policies that reflect discussions that we've been having with DEEP over the last 3 or 4 years, primarily aimed really at updating the state's Global Warming Solutions Act to bring it squarely into the 21st century. This would have identified the problem that we're facing with climate change, identified the targets that we need to reach in order to address that problem, and then given the agency authority to adopt those regulations and policies that they found are necessary in order to meet those targets. So that's a real setback for our efforts. And a similar bill, 6397, which would have directed the agency to undertake a comprehensive planning strategy and produce a climate roadmap, also failed this session, made it out of committee as 1145 did, but then it failed to get approval by the Appropriations Committee.
Another bill that passed was the Eelgrass Working Group. What's going on with eelgrass right now is it's pretty disheartening. We're losing eelgrass every day, and globally we're losing massive amounts of eelgrass. In the Long Island Sound, we're 70, probably 80%, maybe as high as 90%, some people say, below what we were historically when the Sound was healthy. There's still some areas out east where it's hanging on. We've been doing a lot of water quality work, which seems to be helping. There was last couple years, the eelgrass in some areas seems to be doing well. One of the problems with that, though, is we have a lot of aquaculture, and right now there's conflict between eelgrass beds and shellfish aquaculture. So what we want to do is form a working group to bring those interests together and figure out a regulatory way, maybe probably a bill for next session, in order to allow aquaculture and eelgrass to potentially thrive together. So we're going to get some scientists together, some students. We're going to get a whole bunch of people who are interested in eelgrass, and we're going to meet 4 or 5 times, and we'll give a report to the legislature next February on what we think could happen.
SB 1147 is an act concerning the environmental justice program of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. This bill allows the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and the Siting Council to deny permits for new polluting facilities based on cumulative impact analysis. At least 40 organizations supported our letter to the legislature calling for a stronger environmental justice law and enhanced public participation principles, among other things. We made this priority among several priorities adopted by the Connecticut Coalition for Climate Action, and we ultimately saw it succeed at the end of session. There is much to be improved upon. For one, this process does not apply to existing facilities, and that is something we would like it to do, because there are a slew of waste-affecting facilities that contribute to the climate crisis and public health hazards that should be better regulated. And so we will be revisiting that at the enthusiasm of the co-chairs and many other stakeholders next year.
We had some legislative victories this year in Connecticut for drinking water and for watershed lands. The governor signed a bill underscoring the jurisdiction of the Department of Public Health over current, future, and emergency water sources, thereby clarifying that a water company cannot unilaterally abandon a water source or a future water source or an inactive water source and sell the surrounding land. In regards to watershed lands, we are looking primarily at the conveyance of state land. Specifically, this is in regards to the timely and transparent posting of information about the land on the Connecticut General Assembly website prior to public hearing. This timely posting allowed the public to research a proposal and make comments at a public hearing on the specific parcel. This turned out to be very helpful this year, especially in two parcels that were conveyed. One, to get better protection of aquifer protection land, and also of wetlands.
Another one that passed is the shorebird protection. That was led by Audubon, and we supported that. One of the issues with Long Island Sound, and I patrol the whole coastline, is it's very heavily developed. So there's not a lot of places that are quiet and set away from dogs and cats and people where birds can set up nests and feel comfortable that they can raise their chicks, like piping plovers, for example. So we really need to look at the shoreline that is used by all creatures, not just people. Because it's so developed, we have to think of things like the horseshoe crabs that come up on the beaches to spawn. Now, this year there was a bill passed that banned the hand harvest of horseshoe crabs to use in the commercial fishery for bait. Horseshoe crabs come up all over the shoreline and lay their eggs. And there are people walking on the beach, there's dogs digging on the beach, and they're crushing the eggs and they're crushing the tiny crabs before they can get out and get into the water. So while the commercial industry, which is very small at this point, now can no longer access that resource, we still haven't taken the pressure off the young horseshoe crabs to get them from the beach back out to sea so we can rebuild the population. So I'd like to see more areas like they did at Stratford Point, protecting areas of known horseshoe crab spawning.
There's an old adage, but it's still true. What goes on the ground ends up in the sound. In Connecticut, whether you live in the north part of the state, southern part, eastern, western, or in New York and Connecticut, anywhere around the sound, what happens in your lakes, rivers, streams, in your wetlands, and in your watershed land affects Long Island Sound. They're all connected, and therefore they all need to be protected.
None of this can be done without your help, your support, and your enthusiasm.
Get out, meet your legislator, and let them know that they have a constituent or constituents in their district for whom this is a top priority.
Through your support, you are helping to save the Sound.